What is up? And this is the final segment of today. Gonna talk some college football. Now I know we just left the Big Ten and we left Matt Rule in Nebraska, who was asking a group of fans and media about money and complaining the money that he wants. The only problem, there's no athletic director or president that can give him anything. Talked about Mike Woodson and having a five-star kid back out on him and him persevering on. And what I think that they're going to do is raid the transfer portal. They already have a kid coming over from Ball State who fits into the offense perfectly. If he did it for Kellel Ware, who is now leaving, going to the NBA, there's no telling what he can do for a lot of youngsters who are they feel like they have been sold a bill of goods. And hey, look, to the victor goes the spoils. I think Woodson can cash in on that system and turn those guys' careers around. Also, we talked about Dan Monson and who has it better than us. You know what? I should have led with that one last. That one should be last. Mental note to self. Always end these podcasts on a high note. Don't go out on what you perceive that people would love, but I don't know. So, brings us to our final story, and this is out of Football Scoop with Zach Barnett. I found it interesting that Clemson and FSU are trying to sue their way out of the the ACC. I'm sorry. Because the SEC doesn't want them, nor does the Big Ten, the two richest conferences in all of college football. I don't know why they're trying to get out of the ACC, but we'll dive deeper into it, and this article will explain when we come back from a quick 20 from an unofficial sponsor of the show. This is Big Vern at App Stupid. Yes, Old Spice. Try any of the Old Spice scents, from the body sprays, the deodorants, the bath washes, and even the shampoos. Old Spice. Smell like a man. Visit your local Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Dollar General, wherever they sell Old Spice. You want to be there because you want to go ahead and smell like a man. Old Spice. All right. So, when we last left off, our Cape Crusaders. No. Now, a lot of people want to know what this is centering around, and they're arguing against what's called the grant of rights of contract, binding all ACC schools together. And that's what's going to go ahead and deal them the harsh punishment. Now, I don't care how much people love Florida State and they think that Florida State has all of this money. If they were to actually leave the ACC, it would cost Florida State $572 million. Now, that was last year. And anything like money and penalties, they actually appreciate over time. So it may even cost them more money to try and get out this year. The ACC's actions, they interfere with Clemson's free exercise of its rights and are fatally detrimental to Clemson's efforts to ensure that the athletic program can continue to compete at the highest levels, which is critically important to Clemson, even beyond athletics. Now, that was in the Clemson brief that they filed. And Clemson filed this in Pickens County in South Carolina. So I have to ask this because they're all acting like they're pleading poverty. They're acting like they're pleading poverty. And not too long ago, about a month or two ago, Florida State got caught up in an NIL scandal that pretty much wasn't a scandal. The only thing that they got was a slap on the wrist, and they had to give up 2% of their athletic budget. And when I read this is just Mean Girls. Now, I know why Clemson wants to go ahead and jump in the band, but Clemson, they used all of their cachet up. Dabo Swinney hasn't won the ACC last year. He didn't win that. I can't even remember the last time Clemson was relevant was when Trevor Lawrence and ETN, when they were at Clemson. Other than that, they've been in obscurity ever since the defensive coordinator went out to Oklahoma. Clemson ain't done nothing. But somehow they're hindering them. You just got to look at your coach. Dabo isn't who he used to be. And again, we went over this when Georgia was playing FSU in the college playoff. Here it is. No, they weren't in the college playoff. They were just in a bowl game. And you had the SEC commissioner who was there was like, we don't want Florida State. We wasn't even courting them 3 years ago. Why do we want them now? They have 18 teams. It isn't like you can go over there. You have two big reasons why you can't go to the SEC. Number one, it's going to cost you $573 million to even get out of the ACC. Number two, the SEC don't want you. I don't think they want Clemson. A grant of right to the contract has never been tried in court. So, again, you're setting precedent. That's always a bad thing because if it's never been tried, this can hang you up. And if it doesn't go your way, now you're stuck in a conference and everybody in the conference, they know that you don't want to be there. Everybody was on Florida State side when they got hosed. And they wanted to know how Alabama jumped over FSU. Not only did FSU win the ACC, they also went undefeated. That's politics. If you don't have a commissioner that's good at playing politics and you don't have a commissioner that's in the room to negotiate these TV deals and make the most money for the teams in the conference and get them their fair share, you can blame leadership. That's fair. But you trying to sue a conference to go absolutely nowhere? You're not Notre Dame. You don't have a fan base of independents. You don't even have a network. Or do they? Do they? That's interesting. That's interesting because Florida State's suit against the ACC revealed that ESPN is presently committed to fund its all-in deal with the conference through 2027. So Fox, they have the Big Ten Network, and then I know CBS is covering the SEC exclusively, and then they have the SEC Network. So you have very big conferences doing things in a big way. So ESPN is set to go all in to cover the ACC. And that came to light in the suit that Florida State bought against the ACC. So was it some sort of tampering going on? Because the commission, well, let's put it like this. The ACC commissioners would have to dispose to all of the schools that, hey, look, we got a deal on the table with ESPN. So that wouldn't become news in a lawsuit. The news would actually work in reverse in a lawsuit, where you would actually discover some things you had no knowledge of. And then Florida State was having a conversation with ESPN, and the ACC commission was the last people to know. You got a problem on your hands. However, the ACC's grant of rights lasts through 2036, whether or not ESPN picks up its option. So again, this is what they're trying to weaken, is the grant of rights that the ACC has with all of its teams. They're trying to break that to get out of their deal with the ACC. I don't know if ESPN is going to help Florida State make up that $537 million, because if that was the case, then they would carry only Florida State games. Kind of like how NBC has the deal with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, you can follow them on Peacock, you can follow them on all the streaming platforms from NBC. I would say, well, in my mind, I know that Florida State would have those same privy and privileges as Notre Dame, but they would only have them with ESPN. Why is that? Why is that? And it's got to be Mean Girl. It's Mean Girlism. Meh. Nobody wants us. Meh. And we've all seen that. The hot girl back in high school still thinks she's hot. And when you show up to the reunion, she's worse than ever. You don't even recognize her, like, wow. Life has been cruel. It can go for guys too. This dude in high school, you liked him, his hair was perfect, he had all these muscles, and then when he shows up, this dude is bald. He's got an eye patch now. Some of his teeth are gone because of meth. Now, I'm not saying that's Florida State football. Well, it's definitely Clemson football. But it's really contract envy. Leaders across college football have ratified a new college football playoff contract in 2026 to 2031 that will see Big Ten and SEC schools net $21 million per year per school, while ACC schools will make $13 million each. So you don't have the money that the Big Ten and the SEC is going to make. Again, you can be mad at the conference, but you also have to hold the commissioner responsible, because why wasn't he in these rooms? If the Big Ten and the SEC are in these rooms to negotiate their share, what about this says he wasn't there to go ahead and do the same thing and be an advocate for these teams? They may have a legitimate gripe. Big 12 schools make $12 million. And see, here's the thing that I'm trying to get you to see. The Big Ten, they do not want Florida State nor Clemson. The SEC don't want FSU or Clemson. The Big Ten and the SEC are making $21 million per year per school. The ACC is only getting $13 million. If you go to the Big 12, you're losing $1 million. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And even in that deal, Notre Dame is getting 12 mil. Notre Dame is getting 12 mil. They're getting just as much as the Big 12. You're making more than Notre Dame right now. The minute you get out of the SEC and sign whatever deal you want to sign with ESPN, you're going to lose money. There's a competitive edge in this also, because the Big Ten and the SEC, they've pushed for a model of 14 teams that would be in the college playoff and 3 automatic bids apiece, while the ACC and Big 12 would get 2. So even in a 14-team playoff, 3 teams from the Big Ten and the SEC would get 3 automatic bids. The ACC would get 2 automatic bids, along with the Big 12. I don't see why you have a problem with this. I really don't. Yes, you're not getting the lion's share of the money per school, where you're looking at 21 million versus 13 million. I get that. But also, I'm making more money than the Big 12. I'm making more money than Notre Dame. And that's far more money than any other conference that's out there. I understand your frustration. But even in a college playoff situation, they're telling you that you're going to get 2 teams with automatic bids. In the ACC, sometimes it sounds good in the mind, it's worse on paper. Clemson and Florida State were 2 of 7 schools to meet independently last year to explore options to leave the ACC. Now, this will let you know that it's a sinking ship. The other 5 schools were Miami. Miami hasn't been worth talking about in years. I mean, they have spurts here and there. I mean, Jeremy Shockey, you had him, you had, God, I mean, you've got definitely the Miami teams of the 80s. But outside of that, like I said, Jeremy Shockey and all those guys, mid to late 90s, 2000s maybe. You talk about Miami every 20 years or so. Oh, they're going to get this guy. He played in Miami in the 80s and he can turn it around and he's got the secret sauce. It never comes to fruition. It never comes to fruition. North Carolina, I have no idea. Mac Brown is delusional. North Carolina football is not a thing. It never has been. Mitchell Trubisky is your claim to fame. You got to hold that L. You got to hold that L, bro. North Carolina State? Really? Get out of here. Virginia? Dude, Virginia has a football school? You want to leave? Come on, man. And then Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech hasn't been anything since Michael Vick was in town. I'm sorry. They just haven't. Virginia Tech is just one of them teams that Michael Vick made them overly popular. He normalized those colors. And hey, look, it's an awful sight to see. So high five them. And the sad part about this is that they were all charter members of the ACC since the conference was founded in 1953. So, yes, that took a while to walk down. It's got some pieces in there that you may want to follow, some interesting nuggets of wisdom, but hopefully we got there. Sometimes you just need to shut up. In the words of The Rock, shut your mouth and know your role. And this is one of those times both of these schools need to do that. All of these schools need to do that. And it looks like you may have collusion because 7 schools, it's so odd that all of the original charter members would be pulling to get out of the ACC or trying to explore conversations to leave. Not only that, but Florida State, if they were to try to leave last year, it was going to cost them it was going to cost them a ridiculous amount of money, $572 million last year. You've got to only think that thing would actually increase this year. It's not going to go down. Then also the discrepancy, them complaining that the SEC and the Big Ten are getting $21 million per school while they're getting 13. Again, you can be mad at the money, but it's at the end of the day, how much of this falls on the shoulders of the ACC commissioner? He was not in the room to negotiate those deals and get that split. You're only making $1 million more than Notre Dame and the Big 12. You're only making $1 million more than Notre Dame and the Big 12. And if you left, you're not going to make the same money. It's going to be drastically different. And then in a 14 team college playoff, the Big Ten and the SEC get 3 automatic bids. You get 2 automatic bids. In that system, Louisville and Florida State would have been in a college playoff. In that system, Louisville and Florida State would have been in a college playoff. And if you in the Big 12, they get the same. It's just, I think it's a lot to do with nothing. But what was revealing was the ACC found out in the lawsuit when Florida State tried to go ahead and get out of the ACC, that ESPN was willing to go ahead and carry Florida State games. Yeah, they were committed to do that through 2027. However, you have the contract with the ACC is going to run through 2036. And that grant rights, and that's what it is, the grant of rights that the ACC has with all of the schools. And so now you're trying to argue for something that has never been tried in a court before. And I don't know about the ramifications. If you left, what would this do? I don't know. They'll figure it out. Had a lot of fun today. Talked about Dan Monson and who has it better than us? Nobody. I love every bit of that. That was the best story to me. I felt like it was interesting. Also, Mike Woodson, he comes out swinging. 5-star recruit, backs out, gets out of his letter of intent. Indiana, they don't cry, they reload. And how raiding the transfer portal and also getting a group of core guys back for next year, they seem like they're in a position to shock the Big Ten. Matt Rule asking for money for the football program, and he doesn't care about the optics and how it looks, and he wants to sow seed. The only problem, there's no AD or president to sign off on any of that. And then finally, we rounded the corner when we talked about Clemson and Florida State trying to be something they're not. I don't know, man. This is all too much. However, I had fun today, and we'll be back tomorrow with more. This is Big Vern at App Stupid. Love you all. Have a great day.